Deductive logic, picture yourself as Sherlock Holmes piecing together clues. Deductive logic uses established truths, premises, to arrive at a specific conclusion. The key is that if the premises are true, the conclusion must also be true. It's like a chain reaction of logic. Imagine this classic example. All humans are mortal, premise 1. Socrates is human, premise 2. Therefore, Socrates is mortal, conclusion. Inductive logic. This logic is like a scientist drawing conclusions from experiments. It uses specific observations to arrive at a general principle, but that conclusion isn't guaranteed. The more evidence you have, the stronger the likelihood of the conclusion being true. For instance, after observing many white swans, you might reason, inductively, that all swans are white until you encounter a black swan, of course. Propositional logic. Imagine building blocks for complex ideas. Propositional logic deals with statements, propositions, that can be true or false, and how they connect with words like and, or, and not. Think of combining simple truths to make more intricate ones. Example, the statement, "The car is red and it has 4 wheels," combines 2 propositions using the connective and. Predicate logic. This logic is more sophisticated, using variables and quantifiers, like all or some, to make statements about categories of things, not just individual cases. Imagine generalizing about groups. Here's an example. For all x, if x is a cat, then x has fur. This applies to all cats, not just your pet mittens. Informal logic. This is the logic of everyday conversations and arguments. It focuses on identifying strong and weak arguments, avoiding fallacies, errors in reasoning, like jumping to conclusions, and making clear and persuasive points. Example, the ground is wet, so it must have rained last night. Weak argument. There could be other explanations for the wetness. Mathematical logic. This is the foundation for building watertight mathematical proofs. It uses symbols and precise rules to ensure mathematical reasoning is clear and accurate. Imagine a special language for expressing mathematical truths without ambiguity. Example, using logical symbols, you can prove statements like AB equals B plus A for all numbers A and B. Fuzzy logic. Unlike traditional true-false logic, fuzzy logic deals with degrees of truth. It's particularly useful in situations where things aren't black and white. Imagine a dimmer switch for truth values with various shades in between.
Perfect.
Example, a thermostat uses fuzzy logic to regulate temperature. It considers not just hot or cold, but various degrees in between for optimal comfort. Modal logic. This logic explores the concepts of possibility and necessity. It goes beyond just true-false and considers different ways a situation could unfold. Think of exploring various scenarios. Example, it is possible that intelligent life exists on other planets. It doesn't say for sure, but acknowledges the possibility. Deontic logic. This logic deals with concepts like obligation, permission, and what's allowed, forbidden. It's like a rule book for what should or shouldn't be done. Imagine a framework for moral or legal codes. Example, if you steal from someone, then you ought to return what you stole. Obligation, based on a moral principle. Non-Monotonic Logic. This logic allows for revising your conclusions based on new evidence. Unlike some logics where conclusions are fixed, this one is more flexible and adapts to changing information. Imagine a detective who constantly revises their theories as they uncover new clues. Example, you believe the sun will rise tomorrow based on past experience, but new evidence, like an impending asteroid strike, might force you to reconsider. Relevant logic. This logic focuses on the relevance of evidence to conclusions. Unlike traditional logic, where any statement can be a premise, here, only relevant information contributes to the truth of the conclusion. Imagine a detective who only considers clues directly related to the case, not random details. Example, the car is parked outside, and the keys are on the table, might be relevant to the conclusion. Someone is likely home, but the color of the curtains wouldn't be. Paraconsistent logic. Unlike classical logic, where contradictions lead to everything being true, explosion, paraconsistent logic allows for inconsistencies without the system collapsing. It can handle situations where some information might be contradictory or uncertain. Imagine a detective with conflicting witness statements. The logic allows reasoning despite the inconsistency. Example, the witness saw a red car and the witness saw a blue car. Contradiction. But you can still reason about other aspects of the case independent of the car color. Temporal logic. This logic deals with reasoning about time. It allows you to express statements about the past, present, and future, and how they relate. Imagine a timeline where you can track events and their order. Example, it will always rain eventually after a sunny day, talks about the future. Or, the meeting started before lunch and ended after 3 p.m., specifies the order of events. Linear logic. This logic focuses on the flow of information and resources during reasoning. It tracks how information is used and transformed in reaching a conclusion. Imagine a logic where arguments are like recipes, where ingredients, information, are used up in specific ways to reach a conclusion, the dish. Example, to prove A implies B, you might need to use up the truth of A to infer B, and the information A is no longer available for other conclusions. Intuitionistic logic. This logic is based on the idea that only propositions that can be proven constructively are true. It focuses on how you arrive at a conclusion, not just its truth value. Imagine building a bridge. Only if you have a clear plan and construction method for the bridge is it considered true in this logic. Example, you can't just say, there exists a cure for cancer without a constructive way to find it. Higher order logic. This logic allows you to quantify not just variables representing objects, but also predicates, properties, or relations. Imagine a logic where you can make statements about statements. Example, for all properties P, if P holds for all cats, then P holds for Garfield. Makes a general statement about properties being true for all cats. First-order logic. This is the most common type of predicate logic. It allows variables and quantifiers to make statements about categories of things. Imagine a logic where you can talk about all or some members of a group. Example, all dogs are mammals, universal statement, or there exists a friendly dog, existential statement. Many-valued logic. This logic goes beyond the classical true-false dichotomy. It allows for multiple truth values, like degrees of truth, possibility, or falsity.
Perfect.
Imagine a spectrum of truth instead of just a switch. Example, a weather forecast might use a 3-valued logic with sunny, cloudy, and rainy as truth values. Epistemic logic. This logic deals with knowledge, belief, and justification. It allows reasoning about what someone knows or believes to be true. Imagine a logic that considers not just objective truth, but also subjective knowledge. Example, she knows it is raining because she saw it out the window, justifies her belief based on evidence. Logical positivism. This philosophical movement held that all meaningful statements are either analytic, true by definition, or synthetic, verifiable by experience. It aimed for a scientific approach to philosophy, rejecting ideas that couldn't be proven through observation or logic. Example, a bachelor is an unmarried man, analytic, true by definition of the terms, versus the universe is infinite, synthetic, difficult to definitively prove through experience.